just past 6 months.
Yeah.
We moved in March 12th, and
then the world fucking shut down. I hope it's okay if I can swear, but that's 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've been rather realistic about what we're afraid of when it comes to the pandemic. Obviously we have a dog, we have a cat who likes to go on walks, so we're still outside on a regular basis, but,
I wouldn't say it's that regular. We're indoor people.
Well,
COVID-19, definitely when I was first going to the grocery store back in March and April, I was panicking. I was like, gloves, mask, stay away, hand sanitize, don't like freaking out. And now that I know more about it, I feel less worried. I'm still worried about contracting it. Neither of us has had it. But I think mostly what I'm concerned about is my family getting it.
this is the time where the fact that having a partner that I could be quarantined with, and
having a couples counselor, everybody, get yourself a couples counselor because we need to break the stigma on that.
Yeah, but back to what I was saying for once.
This is why we have it.
Having my partner, having our little fur babies running around,
I think the biggest thing that Darwin said is the comfort of each other.
Yeah.
I think we're not married, we're partners and we're life partners and we're committed to each other, but it's so strange how I think the last 6 months have brought us the closest together, literally, and
emotionally.
Yeah, it's made me go like, yeah, no, I made a good decision.
And I'm apparently a good decision. So.
And dinosaurs.
You should have wrapped these dolls, woman. And you broke a vase, you know that, don't you? I need something to set these dolls on.
I don't know.
Here, one.
You probably want to keep them.
You want these out in front, though, so they can see. What is that?
Well, okay,
minus
until we
35.
got a place
What does
for
this
'em.
mean? That's how much, right?
No, well, that's how much somebody wanted for them.
Here.
How long have you been in this spot?
Well, John, my buddy here, he's been here 20 years.
Wow.
He's kind enough to let me use his yard for his garage sale.
This rock was given to me by a friend who said find a good home for it. And I said, all right, I'll put it in the backyard. And then it just came to me this one day that it'd be pretty cool if this rock could stand up on its end and hang out. And I decided that by doing this, you can learn a lot of character of someone. So I called it the Patience Rock. 96, I think is when I bought the house. I worked up at Nicollet Technologies, which was 5 or 6 blocks up the road. It was convenient for travel-wise, but late just about every day. Watched the neighborhood go through some changes a little bit. Originally it was more like a biker kind of town. Now it's getting a little more artsy. It was here for the very first Art of Whirl. They used to have a parade going down the street. 13th Avenue would have a parade. They don't do that anymore. First Art of Whirl was probably 20 people, 20 artists or so. And they ended up having, like, shutting down 13th for a little bit so they can bicycle, and they had a kind of multi-person dragon type of thing, and rolled by in about 2 minutes. It's much different than it is today, due to the amount of people that are in there, but it brought in a lot of great people for the neighborhood, I think. It's a good time. That started as 2 rails on the end of a picnic table for 2 kids that I was watching, babysitting a girlfriend's grandchildren. And just went from there. Added a couple of feet to it, hung it up on the fence, and added more and more and more. And now it starts at the back door and goes halfway through the yard. Maybe next time I'll start at the 2nd floor. I'd kind of like to lean towards the direction of optically pleasing and mentally stimulating. It's recycled materials for the most part. I like to be able to interact with it, or have people interact with it. The entertainment value is great that way. I think it is entertainment, I suppose, art. It's more of someone's reaction.
Do you have a favorite project or piece that you've done over the years that sticks out in your mind, or?
No. Some probably gifts more of anything else, or some of the good ones. Had to think there for a second. Had not a good thought. But it's definitely people's reactions.
Vote now.
You're gonna pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't wanna
you're a
answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the
You wanna
question
put a lot of new Supreme Court justices,
the
radical
question-
left.
Will you
Who is
shut
your-
up, man?
listen, who's-
Do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name. Go ahead.
supremacists
Who
and
would
right
you like me to condemn?
White
Proud Boys.
supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left.
That was a hot mess inside a dumpster fire, inside a train wreck.
We take a class together called Fun and Fit, usually once a week or sometimes twice a week. And since COVID, we've not been able to do that. So somebody decided that we should do it outside and do a class. And so Lauren put together our class, and we got together and have seen each other really for the first time in about 6 months.
We talk about Ruth Bader Ginsburg a lot in class because she was notorious for working out at
She's
the
our
age,
inspiration.
at
Yes.
the age that we was. So someone from the class said that we should work out as a tribute. I keep them going so that they can all be the next Supreme Court justice.
In our next life, right?
Yeah,
Next
right.
lifetime.
Yeah.
The community is still very close, supportive, protective of the Northeast area, which is kind of a nice thing. When things go haywire, when they become negative, as they have recently, people are very protective of Northeast because Northeast is really a great place to grow up and to live. Some things have changed and some things remain the same. A lot of the kids whose parents passed away, they moved out, they're now moving back because they want to move back into the neighborhood. I lived here for a long time in Northeast and moved out for 20 years and moved back about 6 years ago. And it's great to be back in Northeast, and yes, a lot has changed, but then a lot is still the same.
I don't know how next year is going to be because, like, once I graduate and want to go to college, I don't know how college is going to be because of this stuff going on. I don't know if it's going to still be going on or if they're going to get vaccine. You never know. And at one point, most of the stores were shut down, and then, like, the next couple weeks, there was rioting, looting, and stuff like that. Like, it just changes fast.
And then there was like an unrest, like people kind of like snapped. They weren't having it, and I understand why. But I also feel like you can't tear down what's in your community because then, like, think about the elders. If you live in the neighborhood and you gotta travel back and forth to different neighborhoods to get stuff, don't tear it down. There's other things you can do, but I do understand why. It was just a big unrest. It was a lot of anger. What they did wasn't right. So there's consequences that come with it. We are the future right now, so it's our job to spread awareness and really help people understand that we're good. So some people of our color may do bad things, but all of us aren't the same. And that's the same for y'all. Not every race isn't bad. Not every apple is bad. Some people are just bad, and that's just how it is.
Got to catch this bug.
But yeah, I'll start over again. Are you recording it?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, yeah, I've been a cook.
But it doesn't because I get this lip
I've been a
stain.
cook the last 12 years. The first 7 years at Target Field, I ran Herbeck's Kitchen in 2017. I've been at the Mermaid. I've been at Uncle Frankie's on Broadway, off East Hennepin.
Uncle Frankie's, by the way, I love it.
I've done a lot. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I did some time in jail and I got discharged from probation. I live in a sober building. It's a sober living. A lot of people don't know the difference between sober house and sober living. Sober house is really demanding, and sober living is like we can do what we want. We just walk in. We don't, but everybody's trying to achieve better goals. I've been, my family.
All my family has drank themselves to death. I know, I can see.
Mama said, wrap it up.
But my mother and my girl and my two brothers, that's all we got. But we refuse to die.
I moved from South Minneapolis with my family. We moved over here in like 07. Man, it's been great ever since, man. I love it. It's home now, Even though I was in South Minneapolis for like 15 years, this is home for sure.
Have you had to go through many changes in your personal life since COVID lockdowns have started?
Yeah, for sure. Like everybody else, definitely some changes. Had to stop working for a bit. Obviously not do much along with everybody else. But I just felt like it was a little more extra for me because I had older people at home with me, so just wanted to keep them safe.
What's it like hearing Minneapolis in the national spotlight over and over again?
Man, it's not good because it's not for a good, it's not for a good reason, It's not good for us, I guess, but, if it's gonna bring awareness, and people in Minnesota's been doing a good job with it, Other than, I guess, like the violent protests and maybe the looting, but everything else has been great, You said hope?
Yeah, do you have any hope?
Hope's a big word. I wouldn't say any hope, but I'd say I'm gonna roll with the punches, because that's the kind of year it's been, I guess, But yeah, a little hope, I guess.
I've met so many amazing people out in these streets. I've met so many people across the country, through the internet, all that. But I'm making sure I'm checking up on them.
God bless you, young people. Keep up the fight. But please vote. I don't give a damn if you vote for Santa Claus. Vote.
Yeah, no, I always am. I've been doing this now, son, since the 60s. And I've never been more proud of my nation. Every time a crisis comes along, people think that we're going to pull ourselves apart. But sometimes the crisis itself calls the devil to be alive because the people are more united. There are many white people out here protesting as black folks. But I tell people all the time, the most important civil disobedience is get your voice heard at the ballot box, because there you can really affect change. However, as Dr. King said, civil disobedience to me should be a sense of your citizenship. When you see it wrong, do something.
So the pistons sit one by one like that, and the crank goes around. They're flat metal pieces. Actually, this is the top one. So there was a piece of sand in there, and it scored the bearing. And so I have to replace all these, and which isn't a huge deal. They just like pop out, but it's stupid. And even though we were at a higher beer per hour than we should have been, like. It was one of those where we didn't really have an option for it. So. My name is Jeff Johnson. I'm the youngest of 4 brothers. I have 3 older brothers, and my parents and subsequently my grandparents have lived here for almost 80 years, I guess. Listening and empathy abilities that you need to live in a city like this is you need to have the ability to get along with people. You have to recognize their culture. You have to recognize that they might have different religious beliefs than you. You have to. You don't have the option of just going to your house and, there might be hundreds or, a couple thousand or whatever people in your town. And if you don't want to deal with them, you just say, well, fuck it. You're not the same as me, whatever. The more you have to deal with other people, the more you realize that people are just people, no matter what their skin color or their religion or what they do or who they marry or who they love, doesn't matter. I can't keep going over to my grandparents' house because of where the car body is. Because like, if I have to go to the bathroom or if I have to, you know, they're in their mid 90s. They are absolutely an at-risk group. I'm just like, I can't keep going over there to work on stuff there. Because then, you know, Grandpa will be like, oh, hey, help me with this, or oh, Mother needs this, or, you know, go to the store and get us groceries or whatever. And I'm just like, I will not be the vector that kills my grandparents. You know, I won't do that.
My name is Lynn Mena, and I have been working in the Northeast community for the past couple years here at the Little Kitchen Food Shelf. We were lucky to be able to go into the cafeteria of the school that we share space with in the building here. They were not in session because of COVID, and so we set up and did a pre-bagging system and managed to figure out a way to make it all work. We're fortunate in that we're an emergency food shelf, so we don't have any restrictions as far as zip codes or addresses. We can serve everyone who comes to us. That's great for people who are also unfortunately homeless or newly immigrated to our city. There's often a lot of red tape with most food shelves as far as those kinds of things, but we're lucky that we can just cut through that. We can help people right away. I can remember those first few weeks driving to work in the morning and just thinking, wow, no one's on the road. You know, it seemed almost apocalyptic, very surreal. Everyone wondering, what's gonna happen? Am I gonna get sick? Am I gonna die? Is this safe? What's happening, you know? I generally feel optimistic despite all of the horrible things that we've all kind of gone through this year. There have been some amazingly positive things here. People have come together in incredible ways to help each other. And I think overall there is much more love than hate in the world.
My name is Sarah Catherine. I actually grew up in Northeast, not too far from here. My mother moved here basically when I was a newborn, and so most of my time has been spent in Northeast. It's relatively quiet. There's a lot of sense of community that, you know, you do see in other areas and other parts of the city, but it seems very strong here for the most part. I mean, there's their ups and downs, of course, but the community was a big part of it. Northeast is one of the oldest neighborhoods in Minneapolis, and there's a lot of people that have been here for, you know, have homes that have been here for 5-6 generations. And I think people are kind of stuck in their ways, and it's hard to maybe acknowledge some of the toxicity that can happen in the community. And I think being a person of color living here, I've seen a lot of things over the years, you know, living here for almost 26 years. I don't think it's necessarily changed my perspective of the community overall. I think every area has its problems, and I think for every one person that wants to be that way, there's 10 people that want to come together and actually help make the community a better place.
I've been doing this teaching for, say, 15 years, I think. This is my 15th year. And so I feel at that point, I'm kind of like a veteran, you know, but your hardest years of teaching are definitely your first couple. Those are the years you remember. I had no idea what I was gonna do in the future. I didn't think I was gonna be an art teacher or even teach my school, the school I went to. That was that wasn't even on my mind at all. It's just such an honor to just be hanging out with them and help them create art. It's like my favorite dream job, really, and lucky to say I can do that. I've been making art with found objects and I would say recycled art for a long, long time. It's been a huge passion of mine. I believe art is everywhere, and like everything can be made of art. So, you know, you buy a product and before you throw it in the garbage or recycle it, you know, I take it apart. I cut out the good pieces and dissect it, and then I organize it over here in my bins. You know, and then I've learned through like making like this piece over here and like that, a lot of these collages that I'm doing now require like a collection of certain pieces, like a lot of the same type of pieces. And so I found that to be organized is really essential for making this type of art. Northeast has always felt like home. And ever since I started playing music at the 331 Club, I noticed there's something special about this neighborhood. And I've always considered that place like my home base, I guess. You know, it's sad since, of course, the pandemic. I haven't been in there since like March or something, but trying to support them with making art of venues that I love, and hopefully can give back to them in that way. We're all getting through this together. The motto I use is let's have patience and grace to one another in the classroom, because I'm figuring this out just like the students are. And so we're just, little by little, we all just have to help each other and be patient with one another. I think that's the trick of this.
The only way to get myself through society being this horrible and messed up and not seeing a direct, like, hey, things are gonna get better, is doing this work that keeps me so closely involved with the people that I want to help, because I would have lost my absolute mind if I wasn't doing as much as I can. So when I first got really involved, it was, so it must have been after the uprising. Drove past Logan Park and there were tents. And so I was like, yep, I should really be in my neighborhood. Yeah, things got really messed up over south, but it's everywhere. Just because it got blown up there doesn't mean it's not happening here too. So that's when I just kind of went to Logan and introduced myself to people and was just like, hey, what can I do?
I think there's a stigma around homelessness, especially in a neighborhood like this that's pretty quiet. They're not maybe used to that. Logan Park specifically, about half the residents that live nearby are in support and the other half very much so do not like that they're there.
That's, I think, the most frustrating part of it is, in my mind, I have come to the full realization that this is the situation we are in. We need everybody's help. Every time that we have to move because neighbors have, you know, complained or said that it's too dirty, that it's whatever, every time there's an eviction, you just push someone that much further from being able to overcome the situation that they're in. Yeah. We have everything we could possibly need as a species. And we have people living in tents. You take care of people's basic needs, everything else is better.
I do believe that the community will do what we can to support those people. the ideal thing would be, you know, we have places to put them that aren't tents, but that's a whole different discussion. So.
Is anyone concerned about the future?
Yes.
Yes.
How
Waiting
so?
for COVID to get over.
Yeah.
Political?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the environment. I think many of us have young grandchildren. And I'm very, very concerned about what kind of world we're leaving now.
Generally with American history, the pendulum just kind of swings back and forth, and my hope is that it'll swing really hard in the other direction after all of this chaos.
I don't know what's going to happen. It's such a crazy time in our lives. You know, we have this so-called president that is just spewing out lies and hate every day to everybody, and somehow he's got people that like him. I don't understand that.
It just makes you, what do you want? What do you, this is truly a person that you think you support?
I fear that no matter who wins, there might be a little bit of
Fear. A lot of fear.
If this were a person that you dealt with in your daily lives, you'd call him an asshole, and you would not want to hang out with this person. They're a bully.
I'm a woman, I'm brown, and I'm queer, and so there's a lot of things at stake for people like me and people in my community, and so
what's happening to the United States and the American democracy is very, very, very important for our future as well as for the future of our children. And the divisiveness that exists today in the U.S. needs to be eradicated. We need to come together. We need to resolve differences and move forward.
The things that we are doing as a country now don't work. Two-party system doesn't work. The fact that I had to vote for Joe Biden and then feel absolutely disgusting, that doesn't work.
Why can't we rethink what it means to be the United States? We have different needs now. It's a huge country compared to just a few tight-knit colonies, and they weren't even tight-knit. Disagreed and had a civil war.
I've never really liked the term a coming to Jesus moment kind of thing, because I honestly don't think that you need religion to have morals. But I think it's going to be a very intimate reckoning time for a lot of people.
I'm kind of worried about, like, right now in this year, 2020, it's been really hard on my family, kind of. Like, my mom's been kind of applying for jobs. She finally got a job, so I don't really see her anymore, except for in the evening. And my dad's still not really getting too much money. Northeast has some really nice people. Like, people in Minneapolis are weird at times. What I'm trying to say is that sometimes people can be really, like, mean and, like, rude. I feel like all this, like, city really needs, other than what it already has now, is kind of just more positivity.
I'm here because I was raised to believe in democracy and participating in it, and I was old enough to watch people killed over the right to vote. And to not vote seems an act of surrender, and it seems an act of not caring about your neighbors. You know, if you sit quietly by, you're complicit. And I know that there's a sense of helplessness, and I know that people think I've done what I can, but they count on fatigue and they count on despair. And I would encourage people to not give in, because that's how they win. The bottom line is you can wrap it in religion, you can wrap it in economics, but it's bottom line fear of other, and it's about the hatred of others, and I am not going to sit quietly by for that. So.
What does it feel like after waiting so long to vote to finally have done it?
It feels good to vote. It's my civic duty, and I come out every time there is a voting session and do my deed, and hopefully we can get some good ones in there.
It gives me a sense of, like, power, that I do have a say as an American.
It feels good to vote. Been waiting for a long time. Get it here and get it over with, you know.
Everything going on the last couple months has just been anticipation of, let's just get this done.
And it just seemed like we regressed these last 4 years, man.
You didn't really know what you were going to get if Trump won, but we've had 4 years, and so we know what we're going to get. We've been getting that.
And it kind of gives you anxiety, not knowing what the outcome's going to be, because some people, you know, I don't know if they can take 4 more years of this.
I'm pretty confident, but I am, you know, slightly worried about what the aftermath is going to happen. But I'm fairly certain that America's going to do the right thing and get the right people in office.
They're both old white men, but at least Joe Biden shows that he cares.
Get this over and get out the way so we can keep on going for the future, for our kids, you know.
You think our political system is beyond saving, or do you still have hope?
Oh no, there's still hope. This system was built to be messy and difficult. We just gotta find a better way to navigate it.
Thanks a lot for getting my opinion, because it kind of helps to get that stuff off your chest.
It's election night in America, and a nation in crisis is at a crossroads.
We're counting down to the first exit polls and the first results as our coverage begins now.
Pardon me.
So many Americans exhausted by this pandemic, exhausted by these polarized times, and now Americans across this country are being asked for their patience as every vote is counted, and we knew in this pandemic it could take time.
All right, let's dig in a little deeper on Pennsylvania. This is the main battleground we're watching at this hour right now, David. There's a spread of about 277,000. So the president has a commanding lead. The problem right now for the president is there's still 1 million ballots that have yet to be counted.
They cannot understate this moment. It's not over, still counting votes. But Joe Biden now in the lead in Pennsylvania, in the lead in Georgia, in the lead in Nevada, in the lead in Arizona. More than enough to win the presidency right out.
I haven't seen anything from the candidates, just the news. You know, it's a close race. Donald Trump's a big baby. If he loses, he's going to be crying the whole time. I think Joe Biden has better morals. Donald Trump is used car salesman.
The Fox News decision desk can now project that former Vice President Joe Biden will win Pennsylvania and Nevada, putting him over the 270 electoral votes he needs to become the 46th president of the United States.
Keep in mind the Trump campaign is in the midst of waging legal challenges in several states, but the path is clear for the new president-elect. Senator Kamala Harris will be the first woman and the first woman of color to become vice president of the United States.
And it is now my great honor to introduce the president-elect of the United States of America, Joe Biden.
Great show. Are you ready for this shit? Yes! And of course, the one, the only, the man of the hour,
Yeah, I hosted a television show here in town for about 10 years called Drinking with Ian. We'd have a guest, we'd have a band. It was a half hour long. We'd tape it at First Avenue. Amongst other places, we would do live weird stuff here and there. And we always had a remote crew out interviewing people in line for movie premieres and stuff like that. But yeah, it was a great anarchistic talk show that was on public access. And we had very good sponsors and it was a lot of fun. I moved to Minneapolis in the early 90s from Muncie, Indiana. And I could not get out of there fast enough. I was 17 when I moved here. I graduated high school in June. I lived here in August. Coming here, this was like home. It was like my hometown attached to a big city. So I had the aspirational skyline in the background, but it was still like a smaller town. It was still like a community. And that's what made me love it. And as a broke 20-year-old, I was like, if I ever, get to the point where I can buy a house, I'm definitely buying in Northeast, in the specific quadrant right here, because I couldn't imagine living anywhere else. Well, when we first heard about COVID, it was, this will be wrapped up in about 3 weeks. So everybody took it seriously. Everybody was afraid of everybody else. And nobody left the house, and everybody, kept in a very tight pod. But then, of course, as the months ended up dragging on, it all changed. But I mean, at first, it just seemed like this wasn't going to be too big of an imposition. This was going to be too big of an inconvenience. We'll get this licked. And now that was what, in April? And now here we are sitting down in December, and you're more than 6 feet away and wearing a mask. So it's still going on. My girlfriend and I order out a whole lot now because that's pretty much the only option. I think we got really good at cooking for ourselves. And then there's a point where you're like, what would be great? Just having it magically show up. So having the anchor again up the street has been a godsend for stuff like that. A lot of Pizza Luce, Erte, we've been ordering a lot through. We just had them do our Thanksgiving dinner, which was absolutely delicious. It's the best way to save people's businesses because, hey, they're actually damn good.
The week before the governor shut down restaurants, March 16th, I believe, very busy week. It was Lent, it's our busiest time. I have to say I was quite nervous, about what we should be doing.
We were coming off of 2019, our best year yet at Young Joni, and we were about to enter, St. Patrick's Day week, which is not a crazy bar day for us, but it's just a great hospitality week.
We were looking at shutting down and having this big, beautiful kitchen with nothing to do, no food to make.
The restrictions, I think most, from my point of view, for us, we got hurt. That was a big shot for us.
We don't have much to compare it to. We only open like 3 or 4 weeks or whatever.
The shutdown happened, and we started being like, okay, what's canceled? What kind of food can we save? What do we do with everything?
Despite not wanting to have it happen, I was really pleased that the governor shut us down. He took the responsibility out of our hands because we didn't know what to do.
It was scary because when you lock the door without knowing why, you really don't know when you're going to unlock that door. So it was a real trying time and a real, concerning moment to say, is this it?
I had been preparing my employees. I was telling them, start filling out unemployment stuff now.
I can schedule you this day, but if we feel like we don't have enough business, I have to, send you back home early, things like that.
We had 34 employees, and because of what we were doing, we weren't able to keep all of those on, so we had to let go about 50% of our employees.
The sad part was we had to shrink our team down from about 100 people to about 20 people.
And that was awful. And I didn't know if I would be able to bring them back or when.
Our staff, we've had them all for years, some of them for 10 years, some of them for 4 or 5 years, some of them for a couple of years, but they have been unbelievable. They've kind of put their lives at risk in a way to do this. Sorry.
Liz, our executive chef, who had been working closely with Second Harvest Heartland, called them up to see if they had any ideas on how we could help them. A couple days later, they had a meeting. A couple days after that, we were in production.
All of our food has been rescued food. So it's stuff that comes in via donation or from farmers that didn't have anyone to sell it to anymore because the restaurants aren't doing anything.
The first day we made 500 meals, and after that we've been averaging 9,000 meals a week.
We almost turned into an orphanage for displaced chefs.
I always said that you couldn't be a recipe chef and work here right now. Being able to be someone who's flexible and when you get the 40 cases of cilantro and being I can maybe figure this out.
Absolutely playing a cooking game show every day because you don't know what you're gonna get. I think everybody's really sick of squash right now.
And we didn't know how long that was gonna last, but it was something to get us started. And before long, that's all we were doing here was making those meals.
Curbside and take-up ordering is the way to go right now.
We were very fortunate because one of our main staples on our menu is pizza. And pizza is a great item to take away or to go,
We decided let's go online to go. So I spent a lot of time remarketing things and getting new equipment and getting an online company in and all that kind of stuff.
Thank you to the technology, you can do everything with your phone, with your smartphone, obviously.
I was here cooking, and he's the drink guy, I'm the food guy. And when an order came in, he thought he was going to grab it and go deliver it and then leave me here on my own and then zip back and just make the next order.
How can we do this better? And it's always constantly improvement for us and for employees.
We were very fortunate because Northeast sort of rallied behind us, and we had a great following, but it really showed after COVID because they still kept coming and still kept ordering takeout from us, which was able for us to keep the lights on at this point.
It's pretty much
Right here.
95% of people walking up to the window and getting their food, which keeps us alive.
You just want to make it easy for everybody in a way, you know, like more approachable. And the customers feel like, oh, I want to go back and order, you know, that coffee again.
Having all of our locals for the last 10 years, 11 years come in and see us. And we couldn't give them a hug, obviously, but we were thrilled to see them, and they were coming back every week.
Northeast Minneapolis is it's a great community. The neighborhood is amazing. We're still very thankful to them. Like we're open because of them, obviously.
There's tons of food in this city, and it's
Yeah.
delicious. I think we're really lucky that we have a community that does make that extra step to support us.
I still have a job. I was able to give a ton of other people jobs. You know, we were able to keep a little corner of our industry running. And then also we're feeding people and there's not a bunch of food going to waste.
We're not alone in the fact that we're suffering, and the hospitality industry and breweries, distilleries, everyone alike is suffering. So, I mean, with that collective understanding, I think that we all feel like we're sharing the load of negativity. We kind of went crazy and built a whole holiday setup here. So as people drive through to get their crowlers, they can see a bunch of different things like 2020 on a garbage fire and a Yeti throwing one of our kegs. I mean, this is one thing where it was like, let's bring everyone together, let's all do a project together and have some fun doing it. Have some form of holiday cheer to go with it.
Here you go, Greg.
Thank you.
You're just going to hold on to that.
Okay.
And take your glasses off, I think, and you can keep your mask up over your mouth. That's good. I don't know if I introduced myself. My name is Bridget.
You did, but
Okay.
I bet you're going to have to do that a lot today. So.
Yes, and I lose track if I did it on the front end.
Well, thank you for your help very
Oh,
much.
You're very, very welcome.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be putting this gently into your nostril, and I'm going to be holding it there for like 10 seconds, and then I'll pull it out kind
Okay.
of slowly so it doesn't hurt.
Let's give it a
Okay?
try. You need me to?
That's great. Oh, do you have a nostril you prefer?
No, I don't.
Okay. A favorite nostril. Okay. Yeah, it's ugly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You did great.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, goodness.
Sticky.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your help.
Well, you're welcome. You okay?
Yeah, I'll be all right.
All right. Okay.
Thanks, Bridget.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Have a great day.
After the George Floyd killing, and I don't know how to put this, but I mean, I was surprised it took that long. I honestly think COVID played into that. I mean, I think that our boiling point was a little bit lower than normal for bullshit. And that came and set everybody off because, I mean, everybody's already, angsty. Everybody's already a little bit sideways due to a freaking pandemic happening. And then to have to be forced to confront the systemic racism that the MPD, et cetera, have been enforcing upon its citizens for so many years, yeah, it happened.
I think it really opened a wound that's been there forever and has never been healed or addressed properly.
You know, I always will still think of Philando Castile and all of the black men and women that have been killed in this country since, as New York Times made the argument, since 1619.
I can maybe say this because I'm from another country, but I do feel the same way as for Hispanic people, when there is this kind of, we get judged by the color of the skin. It could have happened to any of us.
The day after George Floyd was killed, murdered, I decided that I needed to leave the real estate brokerage that I was with. I just remember I was sitting in an open house in a new construction house in Lino Lakes, listening to NPR, and I was just sobbing. I was just like, I can't, like my community is literally on fire right now.
I know for me, it was a wake up. I just kind of felt like something needed to change, something needed to happen, and enough people thought that the same thing. I think that enough's enough.
I was out the first couple days of the George Floyd protests, and I actually got tear gassed and ended up in the hospital overnight with respiratory issues. And I was literally out there passing out masks. I remember making eye contact with an officer and then him just throwing a tear gas can right in my face. So that was like my first intro into the following 3 months.
I feel like a lot of people who are protesting was really the ones out here starting the fires. And one of the things that kind of irked my whole situation about that is half the people who was protesting out here didn't even know what they was protesting about. They just came out.
Yeah, something else that I wanted to say about the uprising and being out there, on those curfew nights and everything was the amount of white people I saw looting. Young white kids that look like they're going to a rave, breaking into Kmart, busting stuff down, coming out with stuff.
This shit needs to stop today. This shit needs to stop, for real. We out here helping our community, trying to help out, figure out what we can do.
Indicting themselves, man.
I want to just tell them, man, this looting shit gotta stop, man.
Yeah, they don't think there's like cameras in
That's what I'm saying, man. I just want this to stop. I just want peace.
You know, like there's a right way of doing it. You know, Martin Luther King, man, he wanted us to march while we protest. You know, that's how we got a message across. This ain't no message. This is just dumb humans right now acting out of the ordinary for what? Then now our taxes is gonna be raised because we gotta pay this shit back. Do they not understand they fucking up our lives? And this shit pisses me off. I got so much anger, so much rage. Yeah, I understand. An African American died. I'm sad, but there's a right way of doing it and there's a wrong way.
Yeah, this is totally wrong.
This is totally wrong, man.
You can smell the burn.
I can smell the fumes.
It's gonna be a good day today.
God damn it, Howard. Come on, man, be upstairs. First day we're leaving. I have to. Hey,
They work here too.
what are y'all niggas?
They got
It's empty. It's empty. Your next bed is this ATM right here.
For me, I've never experienced anything like this in my life, never. I've never been involved in a riot. When I lived in Paris, there was a big riot for a day and I was like, oh my God, this is freaky, but this was horrible. You know, we were told to, you know, have a fire hose ready, bring our garbage and recycling cans in, you know, get buckets of water. I was like, what are you talking about? You know, and helicopters overhead every night. That's on a personal level. So I didn't sleep for at least, I'd say, a week to 10 days. I was just a wreck.
My emotions were just going so many different ways of being afraid and that someone was going to break in, which they did, and trying to protect our business at the same time, just kind of sharing in that anger and understanding.
We have a lot of clients who've been talking to us too about their feelings about it, and we try to talk to them as well and listen, which is, I think, the best thing that everyone can do right now is listen to each other.
With so many things going on, I think for protesters and for organizers, this summer overall has been a really big lesson in stepping back and taking care of yourself before you take care of others, because if you're not all in it, you're not all there, you're not going to be able to provide the best resources possible.
Whenever you have that sort of group empathy, burnout is inevitable when you're just keep pressured about stuff.
I think that the conversation is important. I think the conversation needs to lead to action, but the mere fact that we're considering that now cops, you know, aren't babysitters, they aren't social workers, and when they do that, everything goes wrong. I mean, there was an autistic kid killed in Columbia Heights not but 2 years ago because, you know, mom didn't know what to do, tried to get help, and then her kid ends up dead. And that's not the job for cops. The old adage is, when all you have is a hammer, the whole world looks like a nail. And when you're trained to not really have conflict resolution outside of using violence, well, that's what begets it. I think it's good that we're in the process of transitioning into something more community-based, something more based in social work, as opposed to just having some jackboot thugs show up and try to deal with an autistic teenager.
This should be a threat to everybody. Everybody. No kid should ever have to worry about feeling safe when they walk down the street, ever.
All I do is hoop and stay in the house. I try to stay safe because you never really know what's going on. In Minneapolis, we were in the main place that everything was going on at, so you gotta really stay safe.
What we've seen so far, that's scratching the surface. I'm surprised every city hasn't actually just burned down.
So we boarded up our restaurant for 2 weeks and closed it down.
It felt like an act of self-preservation, and that we didn't stand with people who were protesting in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, we
bitching out, you know. I don't know how to describe it either way. Just kind of, you know.
It was a hard day when we poured it up.
Yeah, we didn't. It was not cool.
We wanted to give our staff a chance to grieve and let them protest, and then come back after 2 weeks, get some tests so they're safe back at work.
I don't think that living in interesting times is a curse. I honestly, I mean, yet again, I don't want to use words like enjoy, but I appreciate that these things are happening today. I mean, because they needed to, and we were lulled into a complacent nature for way too long because we didn't want to face it, and now we're forced to face it, and that's okay.
Things need to change, and so let's speak up. And people of all ages and all demographics are out there in the protests. And
I hope that somehow, through everything everyone has been having to endure this year, somehow we can see some kind of justice come from that horrible situation.
We're human beings, and the way that I see ourselves is that we're just a beautiful garden of flowers. We just have different shapes, different colors, different aromas.
I kept asking myself, if I saw it, what would I have done? And I think that was probably the hardest thing that I dwelled on, was would I have just walked away and said, well, I can't get involved.
Yeah.
And at least now, I don't think that would have been the case. I hope that a lot of people, especially people of privilege, would be thinking that same thing, that you're not going to just walk away and not see it and not do anything and not speak up.
In the meantime, the pandemic is only getting worse. As CNN's Sarah Murray reports, Dr. Anthony Fauci says it's possible that the new variant spreading in the United Kingdom may already be in the United States.
President Trump's ongoing quest to overturn Joe Biden's victory has a new ally. Missouri Republican Senator Josh Hawley, a 40-year-old Yale-trained lawyer, is the first senator to say he will object to Congress's certifying Biden's Electoral College victory next week.
I'm going to force this debate, and I hope that change will come because of it.
The trial of 4 former Minneapolis police officers charged in Floyd's death is expected to start in March.
Jury selection is scheduled to begin on March 8th and could take 3 weeks. The trial would begin after that and is estimated to take 3 to 4 weeks, which would take us to mid to late April.
That's the million-dollar question. I mean, how do you find hope? How do you stay positive in the face of so much going wrong? I mean, and if nothing else, when you're worried about a president like Donald Trump, I mean, it almost gave us a reprieve from worried about ecological collapse. So now we've stopped worrying about that, but there's still a lot of crap we need to figure out that won't get fixed automatically when there's a new person in the White House. So how do I find hope? You got to look pretty hard sometimes, but I think that all politics are ultimately local, and when you have a tight community like Northeast, it is easy to find hope because you have neighbors. This isn't some esoteric concept. This is a real thing. I know my neighbors. I know, they're some of the few people I see now. So I mean, I'm tight with them, and I know where they're coming from, they know where I'm coming from, and to know that we share ideals and we work hard to maintain our neighborhood to be something we're proud of, that ultimately gives me hope.
There is balance in the world. You just have to find it.